Today's story happens in a world very much like ours, but with one big difference. No one lies here. People always say exactly what they feel and think. Whatever comes to their mind is spoken out loud. Lies simply don't exist in this world. In this world, we meet Mark Bellison, a screenwriter who works in the film industry. One evening, he decides to visit Anna's house to ask her out on a date. As soon as Anna sees him, she says exactly what she thinks. "I'm not interested in you at all. You're an average-looking guy, but I will go on a date with you because I promised your friend." She asks Mark to wait while she gets ready. Mark tells her that he doesn't have much money and might take her to a cheap restaurant, as he could even lose his job soon. Anna replies honestly, "I don't care about these things." They go to a restaurant, and the waiter, following the truth of this world, tells Mark, "The girl with you is very beautiful. You don't deserve her." Actually, no one can lie here, even if they want to. Mark and Anna begin talking, and Anna enjoys the conversation. But just then, her mother calls her. She speaks the truth bluntly. "I won't let you marry Mark. He is overweight and doesn't have any money. I don't want my children to be overweight and struggle financially." After the date, Mark takes Anna home and returns to his own apartment, feeling a mix of emotions. The next day, Mark goes to his office as usual. His boss tells him the truth about his work. "The script you wrote about the 14th century, which was made into a film, has flopped. We'll have to let you go." Mark is disheartened and starts packing to leave. At that moment, he receives an email from Anna. She writes honestly, "I really enjoyed being with you last night, but I can't marry you because I have no future with you." Mark's secretary sees the email and laughs at him, showing it to everyone in the office. One of his attractive colleagues also mocks him. Mark feels deeply sad and frustrated. After work, he visits his mother, who lives in an old age home. He shares all his troubles with her. She comforts him gently, saying, "Don't worry, I think everything will be fine." Returning home, Mark finds another problem. His landlord comes to collect rent. Mark tells him, "I only have $300 in the bank. I can't pay the full rent." The landlord, being truthful, replies, "Your rent is $800. You have to vacate the house." With no other choice, Mark must leave his apartment. The next morning, Mark went to the bank to withdraw the little money he had. When he reached the counter, the cashier looked at him and said, "The system is down right now. I can't check your account or tell you how much money you have." As Mark stood there, something stirred in his mind. For the first time, a strange thought came to him. He said out loud, "I have $800 in my account." For the people around him, this was impossible. In their world, no one ever lies. Everything anyone said was the truth. But somehow, Mark had just said something that wasn't true. In a way, Mark had lied, for the first time in his life, and maybe the first time ever in this world. The cashier tried to verify the account when the system came back online. She saw only $300 in Mark's account, but assumed it was a system error. Trusting what Mark said, she handed him $800. Mark was shocked and thrilled at the same time. He didn't fully understand what he had done. By speaking something untrue, he had invented lying. It was something dangerous and new, but it worked in his favor. Feeling triumphant, Mark returned home and gave the full $800 to his landlord, finally clearing his debt. For the first time in weeks, he felt relief. Later, he went to meet the same friend who had set him up on a date with Anna. He sat at the bar with his friend and the bartender, and he said, "I can now say things that have never happened in this world." His friends looked confused. In their world, no one had ever heard of a lie. The word itself didn't exist. To show them, Mark said something shocking. "I'm a black man. Do you believe me?" His friends hesitated, unsure what he meant. "Do you believe me?" Mark asked again, smiling. Their confusion only grew. Curious, he asked his friend, "If you could do anything right now, what would you do?" His friend answered honestly, "I'd like to be intimate with someone." Mark grinned and said, "I'll show you." Just then, a beautiful girl walked past outside. Mark called to her and said something terrifyingly unusual for this world. "If you don't come with me, the world will end." The girl froze, scared. She agreed to go with him, terrified of the imagined consequence. Mark led her to a nearby motel. Once inside, the girl looked impatient and said, "Hurry up." Mark calmly replied, "Don't worry, we don't need to do anything now. Everything is fine." Then he faked a phone call to NASA, pretending to report the danger. "The threat is over. The world is safe." The girl, believing him, relaxed and happily left. Mark returned to the bar, still testing his new power. He asked his friend again, "Tell me, what do you want to do?" His friend said, "I want to be rich. I want to make money." Mark smiled and said, "Follow me to the casino." They got into a car with his friend a little drunk. As they drove, a police car appeared and started chasing them. The officer pulled them over and said, "Drinking and driving is not allowed. You'll be fined." Mark turned to the officer and said confidently, "My friend hasn't been drinking." The policeman believed him without question. In this world, no one had ever lied before. The officer could not even imagine that someone could lie. And so Mark's simple untruth was taken as the absolute truth. After leaving the bank, Mark and his friend head straight to a casino. They take chips and sit down to play roulette. Mark bets all his money on number 28, but when the wheel spins, the number 35 comes up instead. He has lost everything. But Mark doesn't panic. Using his new power, he quickly distracts everyone, saying, "Look over there." While the others glance away, Mark moves all his chips onto number 35. When the ball stops, the dealer is shocked. Just moments ago, there were no chips on number 35, but now a stack of chips sits there. Mark calmly says, "I placed my money on 35 before the wheel stopped." In this world, no one doubts him. No one even thinks a person could lie. Everyone believes Mark, and he wins a huge amount of money. Encouraged, Mark goes to another game in the casino. He tells the manager, "We won the jackpot on that machine, but it didn't give us any money." The manager apologizes and immediately hands them the full jackpot payout. By lying again and again, Mark becomes very rich. That night, Mark returns to his building. Outside, a young man named Frank, who is always sad and hopeless, stops him. Frank says, "Nothing exciting ever happens in my life. I'm so fed up, I just want to end it all." Mark looks at him with kindness and says, "Don't do anything like that. I care about you. From now on, I'll be your best friend." Frank's face lights up with joy. He asks, "Will you go out with me tonight?" Mark smiles and says, "Yes, I will definitely go out with you." Frank is overjoyed. In that moment, Mark realizes something important. His power to lie doesn't only bring him money, it can also help people. From then on, he starts using his ability not just for himself, but also to make others happy. Now wealthy, Mark calls Anna one night. He tells her, "I've changed now. I'd like to go on a date with you again." Anna thinks for a moment and says, "Okay, we'll go tomorrow." Later that evening, Mark is watching TV when he sees one of his old colleagues being praised. This colleague, a handsome screenwriter from his company, was the same man who mocked Mark when he lost his job. As Mark watches him being celebrated, an idea strikes. He grabs some paper and starts writing a story. Then he deliberately spills coffee on it to make the pages look old and worn. The next day, he goes back to his old office and meets his boss. Mark tells him, "After I left the job, I went to the desert. There I found some ancient papers from the 14th century. They contained incredible information. Based on them, I wrote a story." His boss, curious, gathers all the staff to listen. Mark begins his tale. In the 14th century, a spaceship from Mars came to Earth. The aliens destroyed the dinosaurs and changed the world forever. After that, the human population began to grow. These papers also say that the aliens erased everyone's memories of this event. People gasp. All the films in their world are based only on true stories because fiction itself is a kind of lie. This is the first time they are hearing something completely new, something beyond their imagination. Someone asked Mark, "If this really happened, why don't we know about it?" Mark answers, "Because the aliens erased everyone's memory." But it is also written in these papers that after 700 years, a great writer named Mark would appear. He would find the papers and reveal the truth to the world. Everyone is stunned. For the first time in history, they are hearing a story that feels bigger than anything they've ever known. They cheer and applaud. Mark's boss is thrilled. He says, "We will make our next film on this story first." One evening, Mark finally takes Anna out on a date. He tells her, "I got my job back, and now I have a lot of money. Anna, will you marry me?" Anna looks at him seriously and replies, "No, Mark. If I marry you, our world will be ruined. The children will be very fat, and I don't want that." Before Mark can respond, his phone rings. It's urgent news. His mother is very ill. Without a moment to waste, he and Anna rush to the hospital. When they arrive, Mark sees his mother struggling to breathe. Her eyes are wide with fear, terrified of dying. Seeing her like this, Mark feels a wave of sadness and tears well up in his eyes. He wants to comfort her, to take away the fear. So for the first time, he tells a lie for a compassionate reason. He whispers, "Mother, after death, we all go to our favorite place. There we become young again and happy forever." Hearing this, his mother's expression softens. A smile replaces her fear, and for the first time in moments, her eyes show peace. With that satisfaction in her heart, she quietly passes away. The doctor and nurse who are present are shocked by what Mark said. The doctor asks cautiously, "Is this true, Mark?" But Mark says nothing and quietly leaves with Anna. The next day, when Mark returns home from his office, he is greeted by a huge crowd outside his house. Reporters surround him, shouting questions like, "Mark, what is life like after death?" Mark is speechless. In reality, he had just comforted his mother with a story, but now the world wants answers. Inside, the TV news channels replay his words. Seeing this, Anna comes to his house and says, "Mark, you have to tell everyone the truth about what life is like after death." Determined, Mark spends the whole night writing a script. He organizes his thoughts and tries to create a story that people can understand. The next morning, he steps outside and tells the crowd, "There is a man living in the sky who controls all our lives. When we die, he sends us to our favorite place, But if we commit more than 3 wrongdoings, he will send us to a terrible world where we will face punishment. The crowd is full of questions. One man asks, "My grandfather had a heart attack. Did the man in the sky cause it?" Mark hesitates. He has no real answer. Even so, the news spreads like wildfire. Everyone is talking about the man in the sky who controls the world. Meanwhile, Mark's film about aliens is finally produced. People love it, and it becomes a huge success. Mark becomes extremely wealthy and buys a grand mansion to live in. Over time, Anna and Mark grow closer as friends. One day, she asks him honestly, "Mark, I love you too now, but with all your wealth, will our children be beautiful?" Mark shakes his head gently. "No, Anna, money cannot change our genes." Hearing this, Anna feels sad. She realizes that some things cannot be bought or changed. She decides to stop the relationship here, though they remain very good friends. One day, Anna tells Mark quietly, "I'm going on a date tonight with that same writer, the one who used to be your colleague and who insulted you. Maybe I'll even marry him." Hearing this, Mark feels a heavy pain in his chest. He doesn't show it, but inside he feels deeply hurt and helpless. That evening, Anna goes out with the writer. During the date, Anna's mother calls her, but before she can answer properly, the man snatches the phone from her and speaks rudely to her mother. He doesn't like that Anna's mother called during their date. The man also controls what Anna can order. He says she must not eat certain foods because he doesn't want her to become fat, and he doesn't want their future children to be fat either. Anna feels small and uncomfortable, but she says nothing. A short while later, Anna and the writer get engaged, though she is unhappy about it. In this world, people choose partners, mostly for their looks, so that their children will also be good-looking. Anna doesn't like the man, but she feels trapped. One day, Anna is at home watching a funny interview of Mark on TV. She smiles and laughs as he talks. For a moment, she seems happy, but then her mother walks in, turns off the TV and says, "You need to stay away from Mark. He is not the right man for you." Days go by. Slowly, the whole world begins to change. People stop working as hard as they used to. They believe that after death, they will go to their favorite place and get everything they want. They start thinking, this world doesn't matter. The real world begins after death. Mark notices the changes. He meets his old neighbor Frank, the same man who once wanted to end his life because no girl liked him. Now Frank speaks differently. He says, "I don't want to meet any girl now. Everything here is a lie. After death, I'll find many girls of my choice in the other world. So why bother dating now?" Mark listens, realizing that his words, his lie about life after death, have transformed the entire world. The world that was once full of hard work, relationships, and hope is now slowly falling apart. People no longer want to improve themselves or build real connections. They simply wait for death, believing the next life will give them everything. One day, Anna comes to Mark's house with tears in her eyes. She tells him, "I'm getting married, Mark. I wanted to invite you." Mark looks at her and says firmly, "Anna, you shouldn't marry him. You belong with me." Anna shakes her head, confused and upset. "No, Mark, I don't understand. I love you, but I have to do this," she says and leaves crying. Mark watches her go, feeling a mix of sadness and hope. Later, she sits quietly in a park, trying to clear her mind. While sitting there, she notices a group of children teasing a small boy. They laugh at him and call him names. Anna rushes over, shooing the bullies away. She kneels beside the child and asks gently, "What's your name?" The boy replies, "My name is Short Fat Brian." Anna's heart aches. She realizes the children deliberately named him after his looks to hurt him. In that moment, she sees herself in the boy. She understands that for months she had treated Mark the same way, mocking him, belittling him for being overweight, judging him for his appearance. The wedding day finally arrives. Mark's friend comes to him and says urgently, "This is your last chance. You have to bring Anna back into your life." Mark takes a deep breath, shaves carefully, and dresses neatly. He and his friend enter the church, where Anna is about to be married. The priest asks the crowd, "Is there anyone here with better genes than the groom?" Mark stands slowly. His voice is calm but sincere. "My genes aren't perfect, but I know that Anna and I will be very happy together." He turns to leave, feeling a mix of sadness and hope. Suddenly, Anna runs after him. She pleads, "Ask the man in the sky who I should be with." Mark shakes his head. He could have lied, used his power, and convinced her to marry him. But instead, he says gently, "Anna, that was just a story I told my mother to calm her down. There is no man in the sky controlling our lives. The truth is, I love you, and that's all that matters." Anna freezes. She is stunned. In this world, no one has ever said anything that wasn't true. She realizes something powerful. Mark has always been honest with her. His love is real, and he never used lies to manipulate her. With tears in her eyes, Anna smiles and says, "Then I choose you, Mark. I want to spend my life with you." They marry soon after. Years pass, and the story shows a happy home where Mark and Anna have a son. The boy is just like Mark, clever and curious. One more child is about to arrive at their house, And from the playful gestures and expressions of their son, it's clear. He has already learned the power of speaking a lie, just like his father. Mark and Anna look at each other and smile, proud and content in their family. The scene ends on a joyful note, but with a hint that the cycle of truth and lies will continue in the next generation. So what did you learn from this story? Share your thoughts in the comment box. We hope you enjoyed this heartwarming and thought-provoking tale.